Today we're talking about some of your favorite artists, but their worst songs. Let me just preface my comments by saying that some of these songs, they're really dope songs with powerful messages and stuff like that. But for one reason or another, in some of these examples, I may not like the samples that they may have used. I feel like with some of these, we were kind of trained to like them because you just heard them so much. It's kind of like when you go to the club and you hear that one DJ mix that has the Fat Man Scoop, in the Faith Evans and all that, and then you hear the Black Sheep. Maybe the radio played it a lot. I definitely want to give it some context before we get into this list. Now, in no particular order, this is just the way I thought about it in my head. First one we're gonna get into is Tupac's Changes. Now, please don't shoot me in the comments. I'm a Tupac fan, I totally understand. This is one of the ones where it's the sample that just kind of doesn't do it for me. It sounds a little bit cheesy. I'm not crazy about the hook, but again, I understand its significance, not only culturally, I understand that it has a powerful message as well, because from the opening line, I see no changes. Wake up in the morning and I ask myself, is life worth living? Should I blast myself? It's such a powerful thing to say. On top of that, in the other verse where he's like, the penitentiary's packed and it's filled with blacks. So don't get it twisted. I understand its impact culturally. It's just that the sample, I never liked that. I never liked the original song. Sounds like a very cheesy kind of after school special type of record, especially the part where the guy's like, I made a G today. And he's like, but you made it in a sleazy way. It just comes off a little bit corny, and I don't know, I could never get into the record. Now this next one we're gonna get into is Biggie's Juicy. Biggie's one of my absolute favorite artists in the world. Spread love, it's the Brooklyn way. I don't know, man. Juicy falls under the category for me as one of the records that they just kind of oversaturated. They overdid it. From the opening line, now when I hear it, it was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine. It just doesn't have the same impact, because when I think of him, I think of that block cipher that he's having with the mic, that he's just absolutely bodying it. He was such a raw presence. He was a fly big dude. It was kind of his introduction to the industry. And when you hear it in the club, everybody kind of goes crazy. Biggie, for me as a fan, he wasn't as accessible to everybody else. And so when he becomes accessible to everybody, it just kind of, that particular record just kind of diminished. It just diminished the song for me. So I couldn't get into it. Next track is Jay-Z's Sunshine. Babyface couldn't save this fucking record. I hate this record. Oh my God. First of all, the sample definitely is trash to me. I don't like it. I'm sure the thought process was, okay, Ain't No Nigga was the breakout single for the Reasonable Doubt album. It's only right that on the next album, we follow it up, throw Foxy on the single again, and let's put Babyface on it. No, absolutely not. Video is trash, song is trash, like, nah. Next artist, listen, I don't want my Puerto Rican brothers and sisters to be upset with me, man, but Big Pun's is so hard. Ironically, this is very difficult for me as well, because I'm a huge Pun fan, right? This one is a little bit different for me because I feel like he comes out with this, with this classic first album. He was a Kool G Rap protege. So, we're talking about a guy that gets busy. Following the success of Capital Punishment, and also and I want to say on the Capital Punishment album, he had Still Not a Player remix featuring Joe. It was a huge record. So following the success of that album and that single, obviously your sophomore album is probably gonna have more radio records. It's to be expected. But it's so hard. First of all, the beat just sounds a little bit lazy to me. Like, I just don't like the beat that much. And then Pun obviously is not gonna be able to get too lyrical on a record like that. He had to dumb it down a little bit. So, in Miami, almost came home with the Grammy. Next year, bringing home 3 for the family. We're talking about the dude that in the middle, a little Italy, little did we know that we riddled some middlemen who didn't do diddly. Like, that guy, it just, it was just, I don't know, it just didn't do it for me. We were so accustomed to, lyrical pun, but at the same time, I knew that he was capable of making a commercial hit record because he had just did it with Joe. So it was just the choice of beat on that one. It was nothing too thrilling about it. And and then he had to kind of dumb down he had to kind of back down the lyrics. So that's it. Next on my list is Nas's If I Ruled the World. I don't know what's up with this record. It just didn't do it for me, man. It didn't do it for me. Again, we're talking about one of my absolute favorite artists. Like, Nas is my guy. Imagine smoking weed in the streets without cops harassing. Imagine going to court with no trial. Dope messages. And of course, you add Lauryn Hill to the hook. Like, it's a recipe for a hit, right? It's a recipe for success. But for me, I didn't like the sample. Wasn't crazy about that sample either. I don't like the original. And also, it was one of those that I feel like it was definitely overplayed. You heard it everywhere. It was accessible to everybody. So Nas's If I Ruled the World just didn't do it for me. Wasn't crazy about that joint. Last and certainly not least, we got to the end of the list. It's the newest record on this list, so definitely there's a recency bias to it. But Kendrick, Not Like Us. I don't like this record, man. I don't. First of all, the minute that beginning drops, I check out, man. It's one of those, again, it was overplayed. It was everywhere. This song is everywhere. And I understand its significance culturally because it's a West Coast banger. It's a West Coast anthem. So I totally understand why people love the record. DJ Mustard has definitely had better production than that. Obviously, the song has a ton of quotables and all that, so I wouldn't dare question Kendrick's pen. So it's not like, he didn't get busy on the record, but the beat is kind of lazy to me. It was definitely oversaturated. You heard it absolutely everywhere. The song made it all the way to the Paris Olympics, for crying out loud. But yeah, last joint on my list is Kendrick's They Not Like Us. Again, be kind in the comments. This is just my opinion, but I want to throw it back at you. Who are some of your favorite artists and some of the songs that you're not feeling too tough from? Be sure to put them down in the comments and let me know. Do you agree with my list? Are there joints that you would have put on the list that I didn't put? I'm curious. Let's have a chat down in the comments. I appreciate you guys watching. Be sure to follow me on social media. Instagram at Broadway The Lyricist, TikTok at Broadway The Lyricist. Also, anybody who's a fan of my music, I have an EP out right now called Off Broadway. It's on all streaming platforms, so be sure to check that out. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate y'all. Peace and love.